This is Lee Blair with the math problem 34 times 17. Starting with estimation, I'm going to be using the rounding model, and I'm going to round to the nearest 10. So 34 is going to round to 30, and 17 is going to round to 20. Doing the math for that, I'm just going to split it into its parts here. So 3 times 10, and then 2 times 10. Using the commutative property of multiplication, I can move these in any order and won't affect the final product. So 3 times 2, and those are going to be moved from the 2 here and the 3 here. And that's going to give me my 6. I'm going to move those 10s to the other side here, so I can move left to right. So 6 times 10 is going to give me 60. And then 60 times the final 10 here is going to give me my 600. That right there is going to be my estimation to start off with. And I'm going to move on to the pictorial right here. Using the commutative property again, I'm just going to swap 34 and 17. So 17 times 34 here. And I'm going to break 17 into 10, 5, and 2. And doing it this way, I'm going to use distributive property of multiplication, where we can multiply each part separately and then add together to get that final product. So 10 times 34, 5 times 34, and then 2 times 34. Starting off with 10 though. 10, 10, 10, and then my individual ones here. So 10 times 10 is going to give me my 100 blocks here. And then 1 times 10 is going to give me my blocks here. I'm going to add these here to my table that I have right here. And that's going to be used for the addition later on. Coming back here, I know that 10 is double of 5. So by actually dividing the product of the previous multiplication, I can actually get my answer and my product for 5 times 34. So by dividing the product of 10 times 34 by 2, so I'm going to divide this into 2 groups, I can actually get my product. So 5. I have to split one of these hundreds into 2 sections here, and then move these over to get my product down below here of 5 times 34. Moving this to the other side as before, I have what looks like 7 tens and 1 block of 100. Those are going to be added later on. Last but not least, 2 times 34. And simply what I'm going to do here is just double the 34 to get my product of 2 times 34. So 34 and 34. And I'm going to add that finally to my last thing here. And actually I noticed that the product of 34 is gives me 3 tens. And I'm seeing 4 tens up above here. So I'm actually just going to add those together to make another 100. And then the 8s come in at once. And now by adding these all together and seeing how many of each group I have, which looks like 500s. That's a bad 5. 7 tens and 8 ones. It tells me that I have 578 for the final pictorial right there. Another bad 5. Holy smokes. And going on to my symbolic here, I'm actually going to be doing the same thing with the distributive model, in which I'm going to break it into its parts, add the products together so I can get that final product of 34 and 17. I'm going to break it into 30 and 4, just the addition of those two, and 10 and 7 for 17. By getting these 4 products, I can add them all together in order to get my final product. So I'm going to go 3 times 10, which is 300, 2 times 10, 30 times 7 is 210, 4 times 10, which is 40, and 4 times 7, which is 28. I'm going to be adding these up from 300 plus, or add 210, adding 40, and then adding 28 finally. And I'm going to be doing this using the measurement model that you see here. So from 300, I'm going to add 210 by 100, 210, these starting at 510, and then I'm going to add 40 to 510, so that's 510, so 10, 10, 10, 10, giving me to 550. And the good thing is I see I'm coming near to my estimation from previously, so I'm on the right track. From that, I'm going to add the 28, and this is at intervals of 2 now, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right here, so that gives me 20, and then I'm going to add a final 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, and looks like it leads me to a final product of, who would have guessed it, 578. That was my symbolic right there of 578. And it looks like it all matched up with my final thing. And I thank you for